Travis Wayne Goodsell. 1 Nephi, chapter 1, verse 2. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. Mosiah, chapter 1, verse 4. For were it not possible that our father Lehi could have remembered all these things, to have taught them to his children, except it were for the help of these plates, for he, having been taught in the language of the Egyptians, therefore he could read these engravings and teach them to his children. Thereby they could teach them to their children, and so fulfilling the commandments of God, even down to the present time, that we might read and understand of his mysteries. Some years back, Nelson made a post on social media in which he talked about having met a person who had been living in Egypt and had translated the Book of Mormon, and everybody assumed that it was therefore translated into Egyptian because he lived in Egypt. Therefore, he's an Egyptian by nationality, and so Mormons assumed that it was the language of the Egyptians, as I was told it by my home teacher at the time. Did you know that the Book of Mormon was translated into Egyptian? Oh, no, didn't know. Went looking, he didn't give me the source, and found that it wasn't Egyptian, it was Arabic. Mormons, stop it! Just stop. You don't know the subject matter, just stop. Just say, Nelson made a post, here's the link, I don't understand it, maybe you can. I'm illiterate, here's the link, it says something. Just stop. Stop. So, Egyptologists for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints say that Joseph Smith is wrong about the translation of the Book of Abraham. It's just a spiritual witness feeling, therefore it's automatically true, whatever it says. We don't understand it. Here it is. Maybe you can figure it out. Just stop! You don't know. Just stop there. Just repeat after me. I don't know. Just stop. Oh my God. And so, other Egyptologists have told the church that Joseph Smith is wrong. That in facsimile number 1, for example, Joseph Smith is wrong to say that number 4 is Abraham in Egypt. Just stop. I know you have a PhD. Just stop. Just admit you don't know. Just stop. Oh my God. Just stop. You're killing me. It's just unbelievable. And so Mormon apologists, not believing in Joseph, only believing in a spiritual witness feeling, keep trying to validate in the physical reality of spiritual witness feelings. And so the book of Jasher comes in and talks about extra stuff that are not in our Genesis account about Abraham. And then Dee, knowing Coptic, found a scene similar to this in the Coptic archives. Oh dear God, just stop. Just stop. You don't know. Just admit you don't know, despite being the professional so-called in the field. Just admit you don't know. And so for those of you out there, which are all of you who don't know, Egyptian is not Egyptian. It's the learning of the Greeks' language of the Egyptians. From the Rosetta Stone, that is what Jean Champollion in 1822 deciphered. And yes, he used Coptic, and it was Ra that was the key to deciphering the Rosetta Stone, from the name Ramses of the 19th dynasty. But that's all Egyptologists know. And so because there are no text in facsimile number 1, as they, oh my God, just say you don't know. Oh my God. Just stop. Just stop. But if you look at facsimile number 2 and number 3, you can see what I'm referring to. There are the bigger pictures, just like facsimile number 1, and then there's smaller pictures that are in linear script. This is what Egyptologists don't see in facsimile number 1, is the smaller linear script, which can also be hieroglyphic, smaller pictures than the larger pictures shown. It just depends on the authors and where they're doing it and blah, blah, blah. And so Jean Champollion, deciphering the Rosetta Stone, only knows how to decipher the learning of the Greeks in the language of the Egyptians, the smaller hieroglyphs. That's as far as Egyptologists know to go. And so Sir Alan Gardner's sign list, even Budge's sign list, which has a few more signs than Sir Alan Gardner's, and then there's a couple of others that have done sign lists. But all of the sign lists are not recorded by any so-called professional who produced and published a sign list. You know, you go over facsimile 1, 2, and 3 and look for every single sign. You won't find them all. Specifically, the bigger signs. You won't find them. You can find 4. That's in there. Probably should have known what it was before coming in, because I don't memorize. I know the reference. And so, since we have the internet, and hopefully I'm not going to be cyber terrorized with the freezing of the camera. A30. That's the sign list for Abraham. And if we went to the list of Egyptian hieroglyphs for A30, as far as Sir Alan Gardner knows, it is man with hands raised in front. And so he defines it as praise, adore, loud, or thank. Okay? So all it is turned on his back rather than standing up. And so what you have in facsimile number 1 is a man mummified in the wrappings of a mummy who's praising, adoring, giving thanks, according to the limited intelligence of Sir Alan Gardner, considered the foremost in the field, for which everybody uses this sign list. Just say you don't know. Just stop. Just stop. And so technically that's not A30 because he's in mummified wrappings. Oh my God. And so technically it is not listed, but it's close. It's the closest that there is. And so then you got the Bawbird, and then you got Set, or Anubis, sorry. Oh my God. Anubis, and then the 4 sons of Horus. And then crocodile. I'm trying to blank on his name. And then the lion couch, and the offering table with a plant on it. And then the crocodile is obviously in the waters, and it's supposed to be the underworld, even though the Nile is a representation of the underworld. But then the column gates at the very bottom is also to help you understand that's the underworld, the Amduat. And so people criticize Joseph Smith for drawing in a knife in Anubis's hand. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just say you don't know. Just say you don't know. Dear God. Eva Vasilevska knows. She knows that this is legitimate. She taught a whole class on it. The mummification process. University of Utah. Just stop. You don't know. Just stop. Repeat after me. You don't know. No, not me don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Just stop. Oh my God. But obviously, Egyptian is a visionary language. And the Greeks wanted to speak it. And thus the Ptolemaics made the Rosetta Stone so that the Egyptian visionary language could be spoken using the Greek phonemes from the Greek alphabet. That's why. All the chaos and confusion. And so yes, Jean Champollion deciphered the Rosetta Stone. That is correct. But he did not know Egyptian. Egyptian still had not been deciphered. It's still a dead language unless you've ever seen any of my videos or publications. Yep, not only did I decipher Paleo-Hebrew, because William Foxwell Albright, just stop! Dear God, stop! A pamphlet? Are you kidding me? Just stop, just say you don't know! But having deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, I went right into Egyptian and went, oh, yeah, okay, easy. Why couldn't anybody else figure this out? Oh, right, they don't know. They got PhDs in the field and they don't know. Oh my hell. Just stop. Just please stop. Just admit you don't know. You know, but Nelson can't. He has to prove the Mormons he's true. And he can't just admit, I'm a fraud. A fraud, Mormons, and you never ran the test, which is just blatantly obvious. He just fails everywhere, every time, all the time. And you just thank him for being the living prophet of Jesus. Oh my hell, just stop. You don't know. Just stop. Just stop. Oh my hell. Oh my hell. And so, you get the stories of the flood story of Noah. And he builds an ark, and then waters flood the earth, and then the waters part and the dry land appears, and Noah's ark lands on the top of the mountain. And they come out of the ark and build an altar and offer sacrifice. And then you've got this passage from the book of Matthew, technically the Apocalypse of Matthew. Anybody watch that video last week or earlier this week or sometime not too long ago about how the book of Matthew is two separate authors, just like the book of Revelation? No? Okay, there's Daniel. Oh, there it is, further down. Verse 37, after the Christian wrote in verse 36. Just say you don't know! Just stop! Just say you don't know. Because the Matthew author is giving you the day and the hour with verse 37. You don't know. Just stop. Seriously, oh my hell. But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. The latter days. For the Jewish Christ, just stop. You don't know. Don't say Jesus. Don't say a second coming. You don't know. Just stop. A Jew wrote this. It's the Jewish Christ. It's not Christian. Just stop. The story of Noah is told by the Jew in Matthew that the story of Noah is a latter-day prophecy. That's what he's saying. As the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. But as the days, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them away. So also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Latter days. It's a prophecy. This is a prophecy of the first coming of the Jewish Christ as a baby, mortal, with... You don't know! Just stop! You had to make the comment. There are just too many people who don't know, who therefore assume that therefore I don't know. Because they don't know, so I don't know. And so they just deny. You dumbasses. Just say you don't know. Just stop. Unbelievable. The Jewish Christ is a human. Not an outer space alien from Kolob. You did not understand Joseph. And it's not a dove. So that Mary, now literal history, is the little ones are getting in. The invasion of the little ones. Probably going to have to spray the apartment. So, Mary is a virgin still because it's a dove, but it's not real. And so her womb is only a receptacle for a not real entity that becomes a baby. But it's still not real. That's Christian homusion from the First Creed. But Mormons, oh no, we're smarter than that. An exalted space alien from Kolob comes to his 14-year-old daughter during the Roman period time and rapes her with his one and only one God sperm. When you're exalted, there is no genocidal slaughter. You don't know! Just stop! Stop! Oh my God. So yes, mortal egg, immortal, producing rape baby Jesus. Just stop. Oh my God, you don't know. It's all Jewish, human. And that's what Matthew is trying to tell you, that the Noah story is not real. It's a prophecy. And therefore, he is not giving you literal history. He's giving you prophecy. You're not getting it. Just stop. You don't know. Cut it out. Okay? And so Matthew gives you the date of the coming of the Christ. Not just in chapter 1. This is the birth sign. The book of the generation of Jesus. Are you confused on what generation means? You probably don't know gen because it's Greek to you. It's technically, well, seed, egg, baby. Then you go back on each egg or seed for their seed egg. And then their seed eggs on that line, genealogy. And so you can't put in space alien a baby and claim that you're the Messiah, the descendant of David's sperm, seed. You can't have a grafting in and claim you're still the descendant of King David, because you're not. It has to be human from King David. King David was real. You just got to look in the right place. Remember? Egypt. Son of Abraham. Abraham in Egypt. Trust Joseph. He knows what he's talking about. And so he starts with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and actually Judas in this particular case. And Judas, Pharez, Zerah of Tamar, Pharez, Esrom, Aram, and so they're repeating the names. Aram, Aminadab, Naason, Salmon, that's the same as Solomon, and Boaz, Obed, and Jesse, and then David the king, and David the king begat Solomon. It's the same as Salmon, from the root. Paleo-Hebrew had no vowels. It's a visionary language. That's the same word. Of her that shall not be named, that had been the wife of Urias. And Solomon begat Rehoboam for the southern kingdom of Judah when the controversy split began. And so you keep following it. You're supposed to see Jesus at the end. And nope, because at the end you have Matan begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus. So, well, Joseph is the sperm daddy. No. Now the birth of Jesus was on this wise. When, as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the dove. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example for being a temple prostitute, porn, was minded to put her away privily. And so then the angel Moroni comes to him. Nephi, nonetheless, and says, you're going to name him Jesus because there's a prophecy of a guy, I don't know, some prophet said it. Just say you don't know. Just stop. And yet, if you knew Hebrew, you'd go, oh, wow, this is amusing. I see what he's doing here. He's teaching me. Yeah, Jesus, flip it around. Oh, there's Isaiah, the prophet. And sign is missing. Kind of important for sign. It tells you the day and the hour of his coming for the whole latter days, the start of his ministry. And so then it goes on to say, Virgo, being with Jupiter in her womb, shall give birth on the specific date, and shall call his name Sun God at noonday, of the ancient Egyptians, of the 18th dynasty of King David Moses the Third. drop the mic. And so then you see it repeated in chapter 2, verse 1. Now when Jupiter emerged from the womb of Virgo at the star Spica, Bethlehem star, house of bread, in Utah, in the days of Trump, the king. You don't believe me, do you? You don't believe me. We're setting you up. It's a trap. Run, Mormons, run! The church is not true, but Joseph and the Book of Mormon are. Revelation chapter 12. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Now that's obviously real, literal history. The moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Leo is on the head of Virgo, and Leo only has 9, which means 3 additional stars are added to this birth sign of Jupiter, who is to become, in the end, on the 24th of June, 2025, Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday. I told you to run. You didn't believe. You thought you knew better. You just didn't admit. You needed to stop. You don't know. And then you got to include verse 5. You get speculate, Travis. Really? Look in the footnotes, you dumbass. She brought forth a male child who was to rule all nations with the Book of Mormon. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. That's why. And so, Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, explains a little more that is kind of confusing with what the Christian did to the book of Matthew. And so, verse 1 adds, and there appeared a great sign in heaven, in the likeness of things on the earth. Sign in the heaven obviously is a date, calendar, time, date. Revelation, the correct interpretation, translation of it. In the likeness of things on the earth. Prophecy, the prediction of the future. There's the coming of the Jewish Christ in the future. They gave you the date. It's the same as Matthew. It's the same from Isaiah. Verse 7. The woman is the church of God. This is Joseph Smith translation. Which church do you think Joseph Smith is referring to, Mormons? Who had been delivered of her pains and brought forth the kingdom of our God and his Christ. Was Jesus born in this future time? To stop! You don't know. This is the Jewish Christ in the future. Joseph Smith is telling you it's Mormon. The Mormon Church of Joseph Smith. A Mormon will be born to be the Christ of Mormons, to start his ministry in Utah, phonetically the same as Judah. So let's go to, well, we can go to the Book of Mormon. What? No, we got to do it last. Got to do it in order. And so, chapter 3, well, let's see, what was 2? Oh, no. Yeah, that's going to Egypt. Yeah. So, chapter 3, you have a forerunner preparing the way for the coming of the Christ. Okay? And baptizing. Parting the water, and then dry land coming out of the water. Immersion. Baptism by immersion. Just like that flood story. Hey, just like that creation story too. I'm seeing a pattern. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't that Jewish Christ, Moses, likewise part the waters? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Okay. And so, chapter 4. Jesus, Isaiah, Emmanuel, future Mormon, goes into the Deseret to be tempted of Russell Marion. And Russell Marion keeps throwing psalms at him, tempting him to do it. I double dog dare you, Travis. And Emmanuel throws it back in his face, the Jewish law, the book of Deuteronomy. Verse 8. Where does this take place, Mormons? Remember, Utah, Judah. Verse 8. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceedingly high mountain, the top of the mountain. Anybody know the definition of Utah from the Ute language? Ta-da! Waters part, dry land appears, and the Ark of the Covenant on the top. See the pattern in the stories of the Jews. It's all the same, just telling it in a different story form. And so he's saying, join us, Luke. I am your father, and together we will rule the galaxy. No, it's not true! It can't be! That means I kissed my sister! You do know Star Wars is Jewish, right? And Jesus responds with, "Thou shalt worship Emmanuel, Messiah, Ben David, Moses, and him only shalt thou serve." Jesus isn't him? Yes, if you watched my 3-hour video earlier, not too earlier, you would know that is the Danite plot to rule the world. Lucifer, Russell Marion, and you were offended, weren't you? You don't know, just admit it. Just stop. Dear God, how many times do I have to say that until you finally get it? And so yes, no. Those who are Mormons, who follow the Mormon who is their Christ, will create their own land and build Zion, while the rest of the world kills each other off until shiz and coriantum are left. Big difference. All right? And later in this chapter, yep, here we go, 18. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. Pisces, two fish. Venus is parting the waters right now to pass through on dry ground. You missed that video too, didn't you, when it started? Yeah. And for Passover this year, the sun went through. Emmanuel led the way. Now the house of Israel is going through. And Trump is late. Nelson was humiliated for April conference. They straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel, and palsy, healing, therapeutic, etc., etc., etc. So, wait a minute. Wasn't there supposed to be 12? They just do the 4, don't they? Interesting. Huh. Yeah. It is just the 4. Fascinating. 4. 2 sets of 4. Or a total of 4. How many were in Noah's boat? How many men? 4. And they had wives. 8. Ogdod. Egyptian. Fascinating. So the Sermon on the Mount, he supposedly have others, but they don't mention it here. So let's get to teaches his disciples the Lord's Prayer in chapter 6. But that's assumed. Bruce. 7, 8. We're looking for the 12. So there's the devils enter into a herd of swine. That's from the 19th dynasty tombs. Dorothy Murdoch told you that one. calls Matthew in chapter 9. Oh, there's 12 apostles in chapter 10. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. 12. Okay? How many stars in Leo the lion? The crown on the start of the ministry, which is a date. Okay, now we can go to the Book of Mormon. First Nephi, chapter 1. Lehi's second vision, which is the exact same pattern match for Joseph Smith's second vision. Well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence, because there are coincidences. There would never not be any coincidences whatsoever. And being thus overcome with the Spirit, Lehi already has been introduced as a prophet and a translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. He was carried away in a vision for seer, even that he saw the heavens opened, and he thought he saw God sitting upon his throne. And he saw one descending out of heaven above the sun at noonday, and 12 others following him, and their brightness did exceed the stars of the firmament. Revelator. For who? Who starts his ministry? Emmanuel, the man like Moses, the Jewish Christ. Lehi, jawbone in Hebrew. An exact same pattern, the exact same prophecy, vision, revelation from Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. All the same, just a different manner of a story. All right. And he gets the Book of Mormon, and he goes and tells the Jews, hey, the Book of Mormon is the gospel restored. It's not talking about destruction whatsoever. And then, yes, 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem in 597 BCE, which is 4 CE, giving you the date of prophecy for the Exodus in the latter days, 2020. Because that date for the start of the ministry of the coming of the Christ is the 23rd of September 2017. And yep, all the Jews knew it, and it came from the Egyptians, the Ogdod creation story. And so, again, they talk about Moses, and we need to get to the boat. Pay attention to this, Mormons. Chapter 8. And it came to pass that we had gathered together all manner of seeds. Do you see in this? The gathering to Zion, the Ark of the Covenant, the boat, seeds. This was their caravan to get to the Zion, but it's the same process. The gathering of Israel to Zion, because he had seen it in a vision, dreamed a dream, or in other words, I have seen a vision. Seer, visionary man. That Layman and Lemuel don't believe in that. Layman only believes in titles, and it's his right to be the title when Lehi is murdered. He doesn't believe in any of those gifts to be the leader of the church as the Christ. He's waiting for Jesus. That's why he's hoarding all the money. And 9 intersection predicts coming of a Jewish Christ. 600 years. About Bruce, you have no clue. Leading Mormons astray. Is it 13 then? Nope. 18. The ship is finished. There we go. And it came to pass that they did worship the Lord, and did go forth with me, and we did work timbers of curious workmanship. And the Lord did show me from time to time what manner I should work the timbers of the ship. Now I, Nephi, did not work the timbers after the manner which was learned by men, neither did I build the ship after the manner of men. But I did build it after the manner which the Lord had shown unto me, wherefore it was not after the manner of men. So is the design for Zion. You don't believe in it, you ain't going, you'll never know. You don't know, just stop. Listen to this. Where is he starting this from? I, Nephi, verse 3, did go into Utah. That's where they are. Ta-da! The start of the ministry in Utah. 2 Mormons. Nephi is Emmanuel, the Mormon, while Mormons are waiting for Jesus to come, believing they have the right to rule and ruin Nephi's life and silence his YouTube videos so that nobody knows he is building a boat. He's trying to get you guys to come with him. But the Mormon YouTube employee from Utah County won't allow you to see his videos. And so you don't know. And so they go into the ship and they sail the waters and get to the promised land. Exact same pattern match. Ta-da! And so all of these stories are all the same. And they all came from the same exact Egyptian hieroglyph. The Ogdod story, as well as the Heliopolis creation glyph. Parting of the waters, dry land appears, parting the waters to get to the promised land. Just like a baby being born in the womb in the water breaks, and the baby comes out, takes his first breath. You are now covered by the 14th Amendment, Section 1. Oh, right, you already had rights. Your mom is dead. She didn't have rights. SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade. So, yeah, it's really that simple. Really that simple. And so the 12 apostles, 12 disciples, that's the date for the start of the ministry in Utah by the Mormon. And the 2 sets for 4 men, yeah, that's the Ogdod version. It's the same thing. Noah. It's just different Egyptian stories, but all for the same date. Because the story having the 8 and then having each a child, so that there's 12. 12 tribes, 12 stars, start of the ministry. Whereas the 12 stars version has just the one birth. So both are talking about the same subject, it's just a different story form. And so Nephi, or Lehi, he and his wife, but he dies, doesn't really get to the promised land of Nephi. And so technically what you have are the 4 sons, which are 8, but then you also have Zoram, and so now you have 10, but now you can throw back in Lehi and his wife for 12. And yeah, there was Ishmael and his wife, but he died along the earlier story. So it depends on which story segment you're talking about. And then there's also the sons of Ishmael that also had wives and family that also came along. And it's unclear as to how many there were of them, but the unmarried daughters just happened to be enough for the 4 sons of Lehi and Zoram. What a coincidence. I'm sure that's all it was. And so you get the 14 tribes of Israel. No, Travis, there was only 12. Oh my God, just stop. You don't know. Which again comes from the Egyptians. The second death of Osiris. When his wife resurrects him from the dead after going to the Tower of Babel and becoming the Dej pillar, cedar of Lebanon, from which the top branches, Ezekiel 17, is taken to America, because he's the Mormon, right? You now know the land of merchants, San Francisco Bay. And so he's born in the San Francisco Bay Area. His nativity is in Oakland, because that's the closest to the cedars of Lebanon. It's not the same type of tree, but it's the closest as massively tall and thick. The redwoods of Oakland. And so then he is moved to Michigan, the Great Lakes, large waters with willow trees. Hey, that's near western New York, where Joseph has his first vision, preparing the way for the coming of the Mormon who would be your Christ. And so then he goes to the tops of mountains. And so Joseph Smith is the one who starts as the forerunner, John the Baptist, preparing Mormons for the coming of the Mormon who would save them from the great and abominable church that would yoke them to Jesus. You don't know, just stop. You chose not to follow me and listen and believe. Just stop. And so Joseph, therefore, followed the pattern in the likeness of things on the earth as the prophecy for the date of the coming of the Mormon who would start his ministry right here in the desert wilderness of Deseret, Utah, by the great and abominable church. 12 apostles. who would betray Joseph and murder him, and steal his church and turn it Christian, destroying the temple, prostituting women, after the manner of the Greeks, the abomination of desolation. Thus the pollution of women who have the babies, the parting of the waters, and the baby passes through on dry ground and to take his first breath of life, to corrupt the seed, the abomination of desolation. And so Zion is not going to have the 12 apostles. The Christ, Mormon, is not going to have 12 apostles. It's just him. So the great and abominable church, as the impostor, as Lucifer is, will pretend that he's true by having 12 apostles and giving them all the titles, denying the gifts thereof. That's all the 12 apostles are for, is to tell you the date of the 23rd of September 2017, on the Sabbath day of the Jews. Conference morning, when the women were finally allowed to be considered part of General Conference. Women. You know, the ones who have babies. Women. And the primary presidency woman became the Relief Society president. Babies to women who've had the babies. Part of conference on that Saturday. Do I need to go back to the Joseph Smith translation again? Virgo is the church, giving birth to the Christ. All of this was symbolically fulfilled in the likeness of things on the earth. So, yes, the same thing can be done with all other Egyptian stories, because that's how the Jews wrote their scriptures. Whoops. So, facsimile number 1, yeah, it's also Abraham sacrificing Isaac in Utah for the Exodus. 600 years before. The sign that Isaiah talks about in Paleo-Hebrew is the hieroglyphic shape of the shadow of the sun at noonday during the 3 days of darkness and 3 hours of darkness over the whole United States of America, taking much longer than 7 minutes. You don't know! Just stop! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh my God. And so, yeah, technically this was written in Kamambo. That's the temple that this is referring to for facsimile number 1. Yeah, me, Egyptologists couldn't figure this out, not even the Mormon apologists. Nevertheless, I did. But this is a death scene, sort of. Not really. And so you see the lion couch. Where was the 21st of August 2017, Mormons? Right, you don't know, you've learned. In the constellation of Leo at the star Regulus. That's the date Joseph is giving you. The first year of the latter days, when Trump takes over the throne, having been put on the throne by Russia. 20 years before the last one, which is facsimile number 3. And so facsimile number 2, yep, the woman's womb. It's also a solar eclipse with the moon in the center circle, with the outer rim being an annular eclipse, the ring of fire. The eye of Amun, the sun god at noonday. All of this is involved. It's a visionary language. There is not one word to translate for this. Don't even try. You don't know. Just confess. And so yes, a woman's womb, birth, with an annular eclipse, woman. 14th of October 2023, an annular solar eclipse that passed over Utah in Virgo at Bethlehem. Spica. And then Ballard would die. Oopsies. Oopsies. And then, 8 April 2024, the wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the Lion House, Lion House, but in Zion at the temple. Revelation chapter 19, verses 11 and 17, and all the places where he talks about Lamb. And thus, Doctrine and Covenants 58, where Joseph Smith expands upon it. And then Samson, likewise, same stuff. Anywhere where there is a blind person, solar eclipses. Lunar eclipses, sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood. Anywhere where you have 3 days and hours of darkness. So the death sign of Jesus in the Book of Mormon by Samuel the Lamanite, the name of God, the Lamanite. He's talking about both dates. 23rd September 2017, the birth date, the start of his ministry, and then the death date, 8 April 2024, where the solar eclipse was on the back of the white horse, and Jupiter, Emmanuel, is in the constellation of the Lamb-Ram constellation. And so thus, Abraham sacrificing Isaac, top of the mountain, Utah, for CE, 8 April, over Russia. That was an annular eclipse. So 20 years later is the last day of darkness over the United States of America, forming the first and last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet for the word sign that Isaiah gives to you, and Genesis and Jeremiah. They put signs for the 2 X's, crosses, because the Romans didn't use crosses. What is the Jew doing talking about a cross? Jesus wasn't crucified on a cross. It was a pole. So what is Constantine doing coming up with the Cairo? It's because he knows the date. And he's leading you astray saying it happened. And you fell for it. And now you're waiting for no man knows the day or the hour. Everybody knew, except for the suckers and losers who believe the first creed of Christianity. And that includes you, Mormons. That includes you. Alrighty? And so yes, you can put Abraham in there, you can put Isaac in there, you can put Noah, you can put, who else has a sacrificial thing? Jesus and Satan and Utah. You can make up scripture stories as long as you stick to the pattern. And so when Joseph condemns the elders for thinking they know better than Joseph, and he challenges them, if you can write scripture, then you can say that I'm a false prophet. But if you can't, then you need to shut up and get out there and tell them I'm true. They murdered him. Don't tell us we're dumb. We'll show you. And so yes, the four sons of Horus are the four cardinal parts of the world. The scattering and gathering of Israel. As I didn't finish that story, did I? Isis sent out the missionaries to gather the body of Osiris from the Tower of Babel, brought him back to Zion, in Heliopolis, resurrected him, and then so he was walking along the Nile River, minding his own business. Set found out that he was raised from the dead, came with a knife, and was there at the waters of the Nile River, and sliced his body up into 14 pieces. And there are others who also talked about the 42 gnomes of Egypt. Don't worry about that. It's the house of Israel for 14 pieces. No, Travis, it's 12. You're not listening. You don't know. Stop it. So he tosses the body parts into the waters, and it is scattered throughout the whole face of the earth. Facsimile number 1. Abraham attempted to be sacrificed, just like Osiris, sorry. And so yes, Egyptologists are smart enough to go, well, that's Osiris and that's Anubis, and it's actually his burial after he is returned to Egypt a second time, in which Isis assembles the body parts together, but there's one piece missing that contains seed. So there's 13 body parts, and so Isis, his wife, creates the 14th piece, and then hovers above as a bird, and that's the missing section that was chewed on by rats, as this hand is not a hand, it's a wing. That's why I knew it was Kamambo. And so then she impregnates herself immaculately, virgin in outer space, conceiving and bearing the Christ of the Egyptians, Horus, of which the contest began on the 21st of August 2017 in the ancient Egyptian religious calendar New Year, when Horus's eye is wounded. Solar eclipse. The Egyptians knew. Everybody knew. It's the first creed that made mankind dumb. And instead of saying, we don't know, and just stopping, and so yes, the scattering and gathering of the house of Israel. This is also the 12 tribes. Travis, 12 is not 14. Hello? 12 sons. Joseph is the birthright blessing son who gets the double portion. So both Ephraim and Manasseh are the birthright blessing sons, even though Ephraim usurps the birthright blessing from Manasseh. 13. But Travis, is there no other child of Jacob? Leah? Is there no other child? Shall I give you a hint? Dinah. the one who was raped by the Shechemites, for the abomination of desolation. Female, no seed, missing. The Egyptians knew, and the Jew knew, and wrote about it in that manner. The 12 tribes of Israel, with the 13th being the extra son for Joseph, and then the daughter Dinah. Similar to Dan, the female version. Danites. Samson, which tribe? Danites. And anybody follow me from last year when I did the House of Israel's tabernacles? Different from the Judah's tabernacles. Shechem is also the mount for their Noah story of the land of the Danites. Utah. Danites. Everybody knew except for Mormons who don't know. Unbelievable. Everybody knows except Mormons. Suckers and losers all. Are you offended? If you are, it means you're guilty, rather than learning and being entertained. Wow, I am so stupid, I don't know. That's hilarious. You're supposed to study your scriptures, guys. And so, yes, knowing this, of the Egyptian stories in the Bible, and the Book of Mormon coming from the book Bible Stories, not just plagiarism, you can put in the Egyptian stories, hieroglyphs, and recreate the Book of Mormon in Egyptian. Real simple, not complicated. You had to endure to the end of this video to get to the punchline, though. So yes, I've already done Ezekiel 37. That was easy. Fulfilled as prophesied.